Well, today on Plant Life Project, we're going to talk about how to create our own beautiful indoor fern planter. And I will also give you a tip on how you can make your ferns stand out better in the container so that you can appreciate each one individually as well as all of them together. We'll also cover care and maintenance so you can enjoy these amazing plants for the long term. But before we get started, make sure that you click that subscribe button so that you can continue learning about and enjoy living the plant life. Well, let's cover all of the plants that we're using and all of the materials involved. Maidenhair fern, holly fern, red philodendron, variegated kangaroo fern, asparagus fern, nerve plant, rabbit foot fern, leather leaf fern, bird nest fern, pearl and jade pothos. The container that we are using is a 15-gallon galvanized wash tub. You will need a drill or a hammer and nail in order to put holes in the bottom of the container. I'm using styrofoam filler at the bottom of the container in order to save on weight, but this is optional. I decided to use a potting mix with moisture control since most of these plants prefer a constantly moist soil. Well, now that we've covered the plants and materials, let's get this project started. We're going to set the plants aside and turn our galvanized container upside down and drill some holes in the center, or we can use a hammer and nail to punch the holes. But we want to make sure that we put several drainage holes so that we can avoid any blockage. Now let's put some styrofoam filler in the bottom of the container. This step is optional, but I'm doing this to keep the finished product lightweight so that I can move it around easily. Then we fill our container with potting soil and begin planting by placing the tallest ferns in the back, in this case the leather leaf fern. Now let's play around with the layout before we plant everything. And here's a design tip. Place everything in such a way that you can maximize the leaf texture and color contrast. For example, if you have a finer textured leaf such as asparagus fern, be sure that you put a broader textured leaf next to it, like the kangaroo paw fern. This way, each individual plant stands out against the other, and there's also contrast with color, growth habit, and size. This is why I have included plants that are not ferns, like the pothos, philodendron, and nerve plant, because these help add other colors and coarser textures so that all the plants can be seen and appreciated. And be sure to take your time and play around with the design until you're satisfied. But don't get too hung up on it. Remember, you can always switch some plants around later if you want to. Let's make sure we place the smallest ones toward the front so they are easily seen. An added benefit of using pothos is that it will trail over the side and help add some interest. And there are several varieties to choose from. Later on, after I had finished this project, I added some neon pothos in addition to the pearl and jade, because I really enjoy the trailing effect that pothos provides. I will have to admit, this is a lot of plants for one container, but I want it to look full with lots of variation. This mini plants will eventually outgrow the metal tub, but that gives me an excuse to make another fern planter later. If you would prefer a smaller scale of this project, you certainly can use fewer plants and a smaller galvanized tub. As far as ongoing care and maintenance is concerned, it should be pretty minimal. You'll want to be sure you have medium indirect light, and watering once or twice a week should be sufficient. Just check the soil before you water to ensure that you're not over or under watering. I recommend moving your fern planter outdoors in the summer, in the shade. I do this with all of my interior plants, and they love it. And I have some other videos about growing interior plants outdoors in the summer, so be sure to check those out. A slow-release fertilizer twice a year is ideal. I use Osmocote, but there are also organic slow-release options as well, if you prefer that. Well, it looks like we are finished. As we move the planter indoors, let me give you some tips for the setup. When you place your fern planter indoors, make sure that you put some blocks of some kind underneath it and keep a drip pan under the drainage holes. In this case, I'm using 2x4 blocks and a square plastic dish. But now I'm thinking it might be better to have a larger dish just to make sure it doesn't overflow easily. Well, now you have a beautiful showpiece that you can enjoy year-round and show off to your friends and family. And don't forget, during the summer months, take it outside to a shady spot, and these plants will thank you for it. And please remember to check out those videos that I mentioned earlier about how I grow houseplants outside during the summer months. Well, thanks for watching, and remember, it's all about the plants.